We're back, baby. Views tube. Hope you're good. Wherever you are around this world, make sure you're liking, subscribing, doing all that good stuff. The next target, the next goal is 500 subs. Can we get there? Can we get there this year? Should do, really. Let's be honest. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But we're back, man. Gangs and thangs. You know what it is. We're back with East London. I know we done not long ago Marley Strip versus LGR, and we're back in East London with 7th versus 6th. Yeah, we're gonna learn up together. We're gonna see what's going on. Like, share, subscribe, as I said before, and
hey, you know I don't do this waffling thing.
You know, like that. So let's go.
Newham is a London borough located in East London. Newham has been an infamous part of London, with notorious gangsters and gangs hailing from the area. An example would be the Cray twins, who controlled the criminal streets of Newham. However, this video isn't about the Cray twins, but instead the dangerous gang war between 7th and 6th. This feud has proven to be dangerous, with over 20 people being killed due to their involvement with the beef. Before I get
20 people. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Get into the beef, it's important to note that the 7th gang, along with CGE, 15th and Manor Park, make up an alliance in Newham. The alliance is referred to as Northside Newham, and similarly to the Northside Newham alliance, the Southside gangs would also form
Maybe that's why, because if that's one part of the gang, how many names was that? Sorry, quick VAR. 1, 2, 3, 4. 7th or CGE. Chad, is it Chad Green? 15th, Manor Park. So it's probably like lots of 4 different places on one side of the gang.
as Northside Newham, and similarly to the Northside Newham alliance, the Southside gangs would also form an alliance under Southside Newham. These gangs consisted of 6th, Custom House, and Canning Town, meaning that a lot of the beef would be between Southside Newham and Northside Newham. Now 7th, or formerly known as E7 Crips, is a large street gang based around the Forest Gate area within the E7 postcode. In recent years, we would see 7th split into 2 different sets due to in-house beef, these sets being Woody and BWC. However, I will explain the split between 7th later on in the video. 7th has been around since the late 1990s, with them being composed of many small street gangs. In recent years, 7th has had a big impact on the modern-day drill scene, with huge UK drill rappers hailing from the gang. These rappers include Yanko, CB, YCB, and Broad Day. Only streets away from the 7th gang and the
Broad Day. So he wasn't originally from Northwest. I thought most of the active gang is from Northwest. It's not like it's something unheard of, but surprising to see Broad Day there, unless that's a different Broad Day.
Northside Newham alliance is the large street gang named 6th. 6th are also referred to as ACG musically. The younger generation are known as ACG, or Anyone Can Go, with the older generation going by many different names, including BBS, or Beckton Black Squad, and HTM, or Harder Than Most. 6th, along with neighboring gangs Custom House and Canning Town, make up the Southside Newham alliance, beefing Northside Newham.
Custom House. What's CG? Is that Chad Green, or is that I might have made a mistake with that, but someone let me know down below.
6th have also had a big impact on modern drill, with rappers like Young Diz, Ryda, Twin S, and Double M. Now 6th and 7th haven't always had a rivalry. In the early 2000s, they would be calm with each other. However, in 2009, this would all change.
15-year-old boy with
It's usually how it goes as well, isn't it? Recurring themes, baby. We're back.
stab wounds to his chest.
A member from the gang CGE, named Captain, would be walking on Whitwell Road in Plaistow at around 10:45 p.m. on Saturday the 24th of January 2009. Over a dozen Custom House members would spot Captain, and a fight would ensue. This would sadly end in Captain being stabbed multiple times and being pronounced dead on the scene in his sister's arms. A Custom House member named Major would be arrested for the murder. He would be charged and found guilty of the murder, being sentenced to at least 17 years in prison. He was recently pictured on Snapchat for his 28th birthday. The death of Captain would spark a divide in Newham, with the friends of Captain starting to beef Custom House and allied gangs. This caused the divide which we know today as Northside versus Southside Newham. Only a year later, on the 4th of July 2010, a Custom House member named Ace would be riding his bicycle back from a party he attended. Younger members from CGE would spot him and identify him as a rival. They would run up.
More recurring themes. There's not a lot that man are outside for, to get me. selling something and hitting parties and functions, and so many people get caught either on the way at the function or on the way home.
Up to him and a fight would ensue. This sadly ended in Ace being stabbed over 10 times. His lung would be punctured as a result of the wounds, and he would sadly be pronounced dead 2 days later. The murder would be a direct act of retaliation for the death of Captain a year prior. A CGE member named Sammy Guns would be wanted for the murder of Ace, but would sadly be shot to death by Peckham gang members only 3 months later. Rest in peace.
He looked bare young as well. Sammy Guns, R.I.P. Ace. Obviously, these guys might have been doing certain things, but as usual, the recurring theme is, you know, they're just going to get whoever they can get to. Do you know what I'm saying? 15 people on one person stabbed him 10 times.
Peace Ace and Sammy Guns. The beef between the gangs would go silent for a few years until the late 2010s, when a gang member from Dagenham-based set 8910, now more commonly referred to as Dag 109, would G-check a 7th member named Vando on the 12th of November 2016. Later in the day, Vando and another 7th member would be looking for revenge. Vando would spot Duran later on in the day and would confront him. Duran would be stabbed once in the stomach, and his friend would be stabbed 3 times. The 7th...
What did the friend have to do? Or did his friend jump in? That's what I'm trying to say. Another just recurring. Maybe I should change the channel to recurring themes. Do you know what I'm saying? Mind who you're standing next to.
Members would flee the scene. Paramedics and police would arrive minutes later, and Duran would be taken to hospital. However, he would die only 3 hours later, and a murder investigation would be launched. Vando and the other 7th member would be arrested for the murder. They were originally facing murder charges. However, they would be cleared of the murder charge, but instead convicted of manslaughter under the grounds it was self-defense. Rest in peace, Duran. During the end of
Self-defense. I obviously know we got G checked earlier, but like I said, how bad was it? If you could walk away and come back, then I don't, with the hypo one, it's how is that self-defense? I just don't understand that. But
2016 and start of 2017, we would see 6th members starting to drop music. We would see rappers like Young Diz starting to prosper in the music scene during these years. He had been making music since 2013, however, wouldn't see much success. On the 3rd of April 2017, a member of Custom House allied with 6th named Grinna would be on his way to his local shop to buy a fruit juice. When he was getting ready to pay for his drink, 7th gang members would run into the shop, and a fight would ensue between Grinna and the members. Grinna would be stabbed in his heart and would sadly be pronounced dead on the scene. A murder investigation would be launched after this, with 3 arrests being made in the following days of the murder. However, none of the people arrested would be charged, with the murder going unsolved till this day. In 2020,
now that isn't a recurring theme. We have spoke about this before. Some things do get through the net, but the minority is never the rule.
Police would release CCTV images and videos of the crime, and even offered up £20,000 to anyone with information. However, it seems that the murder is still unsolved, with the killers still being free. Rest in peace, Grinna. After the death of Grinna, tit-for-tat incidents would occur between 6th and 7th. This included stabbings and shootings that would occur during the summer months of 2017, including prominent member of 6th, Young Diz, being stabbed and shot multiple times in 2017. Luckily, he would survive. All of these tit-for-tat attacks in the streets would lead to one of the most brazen attacks in the history of the beef. On the 4th of September 2017,
I swear this is a kid. Obviously, some of the stuff comes out in the music and that, in it, like mad.
an affiliate of 7th named CJ, who was only 14, would be standing outside of a playground in East London with other 7th members. When a car would slowly approach the group, a gunman from the 6th gang would lean out of the car and shoot multiple times into the crowd. Sadly, CJ would be shot in the head and would be pronounced dead on the scene. CJ was said to have been groomed into the 7th gang, with his mum even finding 650 pounds worth of crack cocaine in his home. This whole
standing at a park. Now, obviously there was more people there. Sounds like only CJ got hit, 14. What was the ages of the other guys? Because if it was a group of 14-year-olds as big men driving the car, unless these men are directly shooting at you, what are you doing? Like,
situation is sad, as CJ could have made a legal path for himself in the future, but instead he fell in with the wrong crowd. Now no one has been charged in connection to the murder, however a few arrests have been made. Rest in peace, CJ. After the death of CJ, Young Diz, who was one of the most prominent members of 6th, would start rapping and dissing CJ on songs. He would rap one of the rudest drill verses of all time. Only months later, in May 2018, Young Diz would rap on a song called Smoky Things, where he would diss CJ and his mum. This verse is widely regarded as the rudest drill verse. 2018 2018 would be a very active year for the two gangs musically, with young rappers like Castro, Striker, and Bones starting to drop songs on UK drill platforms like Pac-Man TV and Mixtape Madness. 7th would also have an active music scene, with a rapper named CB dropping UK drill banger Take That Risk in October 2017. It started.
Everyone knows Young Diz and CB, of course, take that risk that sent him. Do you know what I'm saying? Are you gonna take that risk? Yeah, come on, everyone knows that. But yeah, the CJ thing, that's wild, man. And that's what he said, something about he don't care about your the mom crying after her son. I can't even remember the bar, but it's disgusting, really. Do you know what I'm saying? Honestly, like 14-year-old kid, honestly.
To look like 7th and 6th could make a big name for themselves in music, although they dissed each other in pretty much every song. On the 14th of February 2018, 7th members, including Vando, who we have already discussed, would use a stolen car and ride onto their op block. Promise, who was a 6th affiliate, would be walking with a group of friends at around...
Affiliate? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Around 8 p.m. when a car would slowly approach. What Promise didn't know was that the car would contain 7th members. The car full of 7th members would then drive into Promise, knocking him over. Promise managed to escape the situation by running down Butcher's Road. However, the 7th members would take chase and Vando would catch up and stab Promise multiple times. Promise would sadly be pronounced dead on the scene, with the attackers fleeing. All 4 of the attackers would be arrested.
Look, recurring themes. Too often is it little boys. Like, look at them. Look at them, really. What lives have they lived? But they're all like, you know what I'm saying? Just tapped, bro. Like, what example is this? What life have they lived? Now, very rarely you'll get, you know, people that are a little bit older, mid-20s. But way too often I'm hearing teen. Do you know what I'm saying? It's disgusting, man.
Arrested and charged with the murder of Promise. This included Vando, who wouldn't be as lucky as before and would be sentenced to life in prison, along with his co-defendants. Rest in peace, Promise. Vando is often mentioned in recent 7th songs, as he is one of the most active members in Northside Newham as a whole. Yanko, who is a young 7th rapper, mentions the fact that Vando has killed 2 ops a lot in his songs.
What I'm on, Vando caught 2 in 2 years. The pagans ain't on what he's on. That side, you know, free Vando locked for the merge. Got hit by the front of the beamer. 3-man drops to the pig.
We all know Yanko as well. And Sinner, that they keep showing. Sinner 7th, though.
Young Slewy was a loved and well-respected member of the 6th gang. Around the time Promise died, young Slewy would borrow money from another 6th member. Now these 2 members were friends. However, weeks later, when the other 6th member was looking for the money, young Slewy wasn't able to pay him back. A fight would then ensue between the 2 members, and this would result in the 6th member stabbing young Slewy to death whilst being under the influence of drugs. After the death of young Slewy, the war between 6th and 7th would start to quieten down, due to a lot of the older members going to jail. This included young Diz, who was arrested and sentenced for kidnapping and torturing a 16-year-old over lost money, shooting.
See what I'm saying? Young Diz. How old was he at the time? I don't know. 16-year-old boy, 14-year-old boy. Oh, how bad does that make you? Do you know?
And stabbings would still occur in the streets. These incidents wouldn't appear in the news, but they would be referenced in songs made by the gangs. In April 2019, a young 7th member would start rapping, his name being Yanko. Yanko would drop his first song being Anyone Can Go. This song was full of disses towards dead and alive 6th members. Another 7th member named Whoosh would also start to gain attention during this time, with his unique flow and aggressive bars. Although 2019 was looking good for 7th, during the first half of 2019, CB would be given a 23-year sentence for waving a shotgun at police officers. This was a huge loss for the drill scene, as CB had taken over differently during 2018, dropping some of the hardest songs. 2019 was looking promising for Yanko, with him dropping over 4 songs. He would unfortunately be locked up around September 2019 and would be facing drug charges, meaning he wasn't able to continue his music career, at least not for a while. Now 2019 would end, with 2020 beginning and another set of 7th and 6th rappers emerging. In the 7th set, we would see rappers like C1 start to jump on beats. Emerging from the sixth set, we would see Twin S, who was a respected older, and Double M, who was a younger. The beef wasn't very active during 2020, as a lot of people were most likely in their homes during this time. However, 2021 would be till this day the most dangerous year within the beef. Now, I just talked about Double M, who had been making noise on the scene, dropping UK drill songs including his Plugged In, Gunsmoke, and his feature on a Hotspot freestyle. Double M was looking as if he could become the next big rapper from 6th. Sadly, in 2021, the road life would catch up to him in the worst way. On the 7th of March 2021, Double M would be in Abbey Wood, southeast London. Double M would be walking with a group of his friends. However, he would decide to split off from his friends and instead approach another group of people. Double M would have a conversation with one of the people. However, this conversation got heated and would end with the man pulling out a knife and stabbing Double M in the chest. Double M would return to his friends, but didn't realize the stabbing was severe. His friends would notice and rush him to hospital. However, sadly, Double M would be pronounced dead in hospital later that day. This leading to yet another murder investigation being launched. It didn't take long for police to connect a man named Mohammed Shihabi, who was a civilian, to the crime. Mohammed Shihabi was sentenced to 9 years for the murder he committed. Rest in peace, Double M. The war in the streets would be raging at this point.
I didn't say civilian. He was a civilian, but he had a knife on him. How much of a civ was he?
A month later, another death would shock the nearby community. On the 25th of April 2021, a custom house member named Young Grinna, who was well known as Grinna's younger brother, would be standing outside of his family home in East London when a car would slowly approach. What Young Grinna didn't know was that this car was full of CGE and 7th members. The members would exit the car and shoot Young Grinna. The members would then all run towards him and stab him multiple times whilst he was on the floor. Sadly, Young Grinna would be pronounced dead on the scene. This meant that both of the brothers had been lost to the street life, leaving a massive hole in the family. Rest in peace, Grinna and Young Grinna. After the death of Young Grinna, 7th would start disrespecting him in songs, with C1 being one of the main rappers from the 7th set starting to rap and drop songs disrespecting his ops. Later on in 2021, the 7th set would see in-house problems, with one of their own members being murdered, causing a massive divide in the 7th gang. Now a 7th member and popular drill rapper Stick Up would find himself in an argument with other 7th members, who were his friends. Like all friends, arguments are bound to happen. However, this was different, and ended in the 3 7th members stabbing Stick Up multiple times, leaving him to die. Stick Up would sadly be pronounced dead only moments later, with the killers fleeing. Now, Woodgrange and BWC are both sets that make up the 7th gang, so after Stick Up was killed by his own friends, the two sides would split, with certain members siding with different members. After the death of Stick Up, BWC and Woody would start to actively beef. This resulted in tit-for-tat incidents in the streets. This included when BWC members would catch a Woody member in jail and stab him in the neck. This was a direct retaliation for the murder of Stick Up, with it even being alleged that Yanko was responsible for the attack, as he talked about the incident in his song Painting a Picture. The beef between 6th and 7th has been quite active since 2021, with tit-for-tat incidents occurring nearly every month in the streets. 6th has been making a big noise in the music scene recently, with Twin S being released from prison and starting to drop songs again. A 6th member named Ryda recently burst onto the scene and has been dropping UK drill songs that are already starting to rake in hundreds of thousands of views. Ryda is looking as if he can make it big in the drill scene. Although this has been said about other rappers, I hope Ryda can use his talent and get big in the drill scene, as he has a lot of potential. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. Rest in peace, everyone in this video. Remember, this life isn't worth it.
Nope, the life ain't worth it. It's definitely not a rest in peace though, unless you're a civ, like I keep saying. And then this civ apparently is holding a knife, unless I heard that wrong. I don't know. But there you go, people. Another one down, another one down, another one bites the dust. Leave it in the comments below where we should go on the next foray into gangs and things. But until next time, my people, them. Hey.